Rudy, lots of stuff going on. Where do you want to start? Thought we could talk about what's happening. You know, we mentioned this a couple of times. I have this afternoon on Paul Saint-Pierre Plamondon going off about the high-speed rail and wanting just, the feds to give them the money and forget the rail. What do you make of this?
So it's difficult to understand because yesterday the Bloc Québécois made an announcement saying that they are against the high-speed train in terms of they don't like where it's going in terms of the track, because we still don't know which field is going to be expropriated. There's a lot of people who are concerned, for example, in the Mirabel region. So they wanted to, they were not happy also with the consultation. So they were saying they were opposing the project as it is, but not, in fact, the high-speed train as a whole. But today, this morning, Paul Saint-Pierre Plamondon and DPQ is basically saying no to a high-speed train, and they want the money. The problem is that this is not something that you can ask the money because, first of all, the provincial government is not giving any money. It's 100% federal money, and it's not a program like healthcare or education that sometimes provinces says, look, we want to opt out and you give us a share of it. If the province of Quebec doesn't want to have the high-speed train, the federal government is just going to cancel the project and the money will be spent somewhere else. So it's kind of difficult to understand because the argument of Paul Saint-Pierre Plamondon to say we would like to have $40 billion, we would invest it ourselves when it comes to infrastructure, schools in Quebec, and other infrastructure programs. The reality is that they cannot do that. The government is not going to send them a check saying, okay, you don't want the high-speed train, fine enough. Here's $40 billion, because that's not how it works. This is not a program that was designed that way.
So bizarre. It's like he would like perhaps a low-speed train or perhaps a high-speed stagecoach perhaps would be the way to go for PSPP. We'll have to wait and see. Rudy, let's talk about what's going on in Quebec in the National Assembly. We know that they get up at the end of the week. A lot of bills still to pass. I know the energy drink bill was tabled today. How much of this is actually going to get done before they have to stand up and adjourn for the summer?
Look, I think that we can now say that there's going to be 127 riding and not 125 ridings. So that has passed. So this is now something that we have to update our vocabulary when it comes to the next election. There's going to be 127 riding. When it comes to energy drink also, I think there was unanimous consent. Yes, there was consultation today, but now the Conservative Party is not going to oppose it. Now the question about the Constitution, Simon Jolin Barrette, the Justice Minister, we can already rule out that it's not going to make it to the list. And now the question is, are they going to have enough time? We expect that, yes, the Gabi Renault bill will pass. Maybe something when it comes to mental health initiatives. But even there's some talk about, because Quebec also wants to have the kind of the same bill as Ottawa has in terms of having big projects and being able to accelerate those big projects. They call it in Quebec Bill 5. I don't think it will pass, but we'll have to see. And the big question is, are they going to use some gag order or not, or are they just going to put them in their platform for the election?
What about Bill 8? What about this whole educational, adult ed, vocational training? That one's gotten the English community very concerned, very upset. Is that going to go through?
We don't know yet. It's still a question. There's still some consultation about it, so we still don't know if the CAQ is going to push for it or even use a gag order on it.
Okay. Meanwhile, j'ai aucune idée here. What is the Camp des Québécois? What's this about?
It's very interesting because Saturday, Charles Milliard was in Sherbrooke, and during his speech in front of his party members, he basically said there's only one person in Quebec, one party that is against the referendum, and it's the Liberal Party of Quebec, and basically asking Madame Fréchette to be clear in terms of which side is she on, that she cannot be in the middle. It's either yes or no. And the thing is that Madame Fréchette was asked about it again and again, and she doesn't want to answer, and her answer is always, I'm on the side of Quebecers, but it doesn't mean anything. So I'm just saying, maybe now people are just saying, okay, not paying attention. But in a campaign, especially the campaign that we're going to experience in September, Madame Fréchette will have to answer the question, if there's going to be a referendum, is she going to be on the yes side or on the no side? We know that in the past, for example, Madame Fréchette comes from the PQ. She was actually working for Jean-François Lisée. So her response of not saying if there would be a referendum, which side is she on, that's something that Charles Milliard was pressing her on. And for the moment, she only gives that answer that, honestly, I don't know what it means to be on the camp of Quebecers.
So we know a couple of weeks ago, right, they stopped, was it Mathieu Lacombe in the hallway in the National Assembly, and they asked him, he said yes, and then someone else said no. So it doesn't seem there's a party position on this?
Yes, exactly. And that's why it's all started exactly because of that. It was Marc Tanguay from the Liberal Party who did ask Jean Boulet at the time, the minister, asking him, are you going to be on the no side? And he said yes. We know that he's actually a former Liberal a member of the Federal Liberal Party member. And all of a sudden, Mathieu Lacombe, who, by the way, wasn't asked about it, said, hey, I would be on the yes side. So it started this whole debate in terms of the CAQ. We know that when it was François Legault, he said, my position is that we don't want a referendum, but now everybody is being asked about it. Every member of the National Assembly, are you on the yes or on the no side? And that's an ongoing issue for the CAQ. So I think that it was smart for Charles Media to press on that button and ask the question. And as you can see, Madame Fréchette doesn't want to answer that question.
Yeah, I imagine the way you just explained it, right? Imagine they were asked again, or anybody in the party's asked, and the answer is what François Legault said, well, we don't really want a referendum, but then that's followed with, yeah, but if we did have one, would you vote yes? That's kind of what it's coming. It's an odd thing to sort of, for them to be in that position, right? Where there are members of a party that's pledged not to hold a referendum if they get elected. But if they did, they have people who'd vote yes. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me.
Yes, they should be. They should say no. They're on the no side. That's an easy answer. And that's why it's going to be difficult for her to continue, especially when there's going to be leaders debate.
All right, let me move on. By the way, can I ask, with respect, you mentioned Charles Milliard, and I read some positive comments after the Liberal, get-together over the weekend. What did you think? Did you hear something positive? Because up until now, many people said, you know what, he hasn't really weighed in on any issues. What was your take on it?
But I was actually there. I visited the convention on Saturday. I listened to his speech. He did have a lot of announcement when it comes to candidates. But the problem is he still hasn't disclosed what's his plan when it comes to French, the French language, protecting French language. He said that we're supposed to have a plan before summer. Last time I checked, I think summer starts June 21st. So maybe we'll have a plan from the Liberal Party. But I think that for the moment, he hasn't said yet what is his position, for example, when it comes to the different bill that the CAQ passed in terms of protecting French language.
And what about his comment about freedom of choice, which is something the opposition has jumped on as well, right? He talked about if you want to go to CJAD, the Liberals will allow allophones, francophones, if they wanted to go to CJAD. And then, of course, this issue of adult and vocational education, these are adults. They should have their own right to do what they want to, their freedom of choice. Was that, do you think, a good thing?
Yes, I think it goes with the Liberal position because that was the Liberal position in the past. But don't forget, Dominique Anglade in the past did table what she would do for French, for example. The problem right now is that we still don't know what exactly is the platform of the Liberal Party when it comes to their position, when it comes to schools, when it comes to CJAP, when it comes to also training for skilled workers. Also, what is going to be, how long do immigrants that come to Quebec, how much time do they have to learn French? Those are all questions that Charles Media hasn't answered yet.
Last thing, interesting story today, the Mark Carney announcing the Gordie Howe Bridge, which has been a bone of contention because, of course, Donald Trump said, we're not going to allow it to open because it was whatever reason he made up.
Yes.
The Prime Minister today kind of gave the impression that it would open by as early as the end of this week, but we've not had anything, at least from what I've seen, Rudy, and please correct me if I'm wrong here, from the Americans saying, yeah, we're on board, go ahead.
Exactly. So those are rumors. We are hearing that possibly Doug Ford is preparing for an announcement or a ribbon cutting event, but for that has been a very important issue. As you mentioned, this is a bridge that it was negotiated, that Canada paid for it. The U.S. didn't put $1 in that bridge, but they were blocking that bridge. Why? Because there's another bridge, which is called the Ambassador Bridge, which is privately owned by an American family, which is a big, big supporter of the Trump administration. They tried to block, and they're still trying to block that new bridge. So we'll see if there's something happening or an opening for this new bridge between Detroit and Windsor.
How do you block a bridge exactly? How's that going to work?
But that's exactly what they're doing. They're putting pressure on officials, especially on U.S. officials, not to kind of give the green light for that bridge, because don't forget, you need custom officers, you need to basically have everything working, and for the moment we haven't received a green light from, for example, custom officers.
A strange story. Rudy, thank you so much. Appreciate it.
My pleasure.
All
Thank
right.
you.
Canadian women are looking for more out of themselves, their businesses, their elected leaders, and the world around them.
And that's why we're thrilled to introduce the Honest Talk podcast.
I'm Jennifer Stewart.
And I'm Catherine Clark. And in this podcast, we interview Canada's most inspiring women.
Entrepreneurs, artists, athletes, politicians, and newsmakers, all at different stages of their journey.
So if you're looking to connect, then we hope you'll join us.
Listen to the Honest Talk podcast on iHeartRadio or wherever you listen to your podcasts.